Have you ever seen Wing Chun in action? It's incredible. The speed, the precision, it's almost like a dance, but, with a punch.
Yeah, it's captivating.
And today we are diving deep into the world of Wing Chun. We're going to be exploring not just its beauty, but also the potential risks behind those really intricate and powerful movements.
Yeah, it's definitely an art, that's for sure. And you're right, there's a definite element of risk. Anytime you're working with martial arts, pushing your body in new ways, there's going to be, bumps along the road, I guess.
Literally bumps and bruises. Like, what are we talking about here in terms of Wing Chun? What kind of injuries?
You'll see the usual, contusions, sprains, muscle strains, just the things that you would see in a lot of martial arts.
Right.
But Wing Chun, because of its emphasis on close combat, really those lightning-fast strikes, it can put stress on certain parts of the body in unique ways.
Okay, so where should Wing Chun practitioners be extra careful then?
Well, wrists for sure. All those rapid-fire punches and blocks.
Right.
It's kind of like the cornerstone of Wing Chun.
A lot of forearm stuff.
Yeah, you're using your forearms a lot, offensively, defensively.
Right.
And all that gets, put through the wrist.
Yeah.
Those delicate wrist joints, so.
Yeah, and we're not talking about just like pushing a weight.
No.
This is impact.
Exactly. You've got the impact of the strikes.
Yeah.
You've got the force of the blocks. And that's where, especially for beginners, technique is paramount. If you are not doing those blocks, the tsun, for example, with proper form, you are asking for a world of hurt.
The tsun, yes, I'm taking notes here.
Yeah.
So wrists, big one. What else?
Let's see, elbows, that's another one.
Really? Elbows.
Yeah, elbows. And it's interesting because you don't think about it.
No.
But if you think about that classic Wing Chun stance,
Okay.
elbows close to the body.
Right.
And that is for protection.
Yeah,
right?
I imagine. Yeah.
Exactly. Creates a really tight guard.
Yeah.
Makes it harder for somebody to get in.
Right.
And it's also incredibly efficient for generating power because you're bringing your whole body.
Exactly.
Right.
But it also means that your elbows are, they can be targets.
Right. Especially sparring.
Especially sparring. And all that, we talk about the rapid fire punches.
Right.
That can lead to overuse injuries as well, like bursitis.
Bursitis. Yeah, that doesn't sound good. What is happening in your elbow when you get bursitis?
So basically, it's an inflammation of the bursa, which is that, small fluid-filled sac that acts as a cushion between, all those tendons, your bones,
right,
all those repetitive movements,
right,
especially if you're doing them wrong,
Right.
They can really irritate that bursa and cause pain, limit your range of motion. So,
okay, so wrists, elbows, what else should we have on our radar?
let's see. Oh, shoulders. Shoulders are another one.
Shoulders, right.
Wing Chun, rapid, forceful movements.
Right.
Often against resistance, whether you're working with a wooden dummy or a partner.
Right.
All that can put stress on those shoulder joints.
So we're talking like strains, sprains, tendinitis.
Exactly.
Okay. So wrists, elbows, shoulders. So the upper body kind of takes a beating with Wing Chun. What about the hands themselves, though?
Oh, the hands. Oh, my gosh. Fingers, especially when you're first starting out, it's almost comical how easy it is to jam a finger or even sprain a finger. You're using your hands constantly in Wing Chun, and all those rapid-fire punches, intricate hand techniques, that takes a lot of precision, a lot of control.
Which, when you're first starting out, you don't have.
Right, exactly. So
you're kind of learning. It's all about practice.
Exactly, and it really highlights a key principle in Wing Chun.
Okay.
Which is that it's not just about brute strength. It's about finesse. Understanding how to generate power from your core, moving with efficiency, precision. And that's where, when we're talking about preventing injuries, technique is paramount.
So it's about training smart.
Training smart, exactly. Focusing on, especially in the beginning, quality over quantity when you're on that wooden dummy, for instance. Right. It's tempting to just go,
Oh, yeah, 100%. Channel your inner Bruce Lee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But, especially when you're starting out, it's so important to gradually increase that intensity as your, technique gets better, your strength improves, because that thing doesn't move.
That wooden dummy's not budging, no.
Yeah.
So skip the trash cans, find a good sifu. I'm hearing you.
Find yourself a good sifu, absolutely. And remember, even when you have, good technique, sparring brings in a whole other,
Because now it's
moving target.
And they're trying to hit you.
Exactly. And so, even with protective gear, there's unpredictability there, things happen quickly, and, accidents can happen.
Yeah. So it really is an art to staying safe with Wing Chun. It's not just knowing the moves, it's knowing your body, your limits, it sounds like.
Absolutely. And learning, it's a journey of self-discovery, I
Yeah.
guess you could say,
Mm-hmm.
in a lot of ways, physically, mentally.
How do you develop that?
It's a process. Paying attention to those aches and pains, those little twinges, you start to notice, okay, how's my body responding to this movement, to this level of intensity?
Mm.
Am I feeling a little strain in my wrist when I do this tan sao? Maybe my form is off.
Right, right,
Or you're working on your sil tao, that first form,
right.
you notice your shoulders are feeling a bit tight.
Which makes sense. There's a lot of like arm raises and that
Exactly. Okay.
rotations and things.
And that's your cue to, okay, maybe I need to add some shoulder stretches to my warm-up or cool down.
Right, right.
And over time, it becomes second nature. You become more attuned to those little signals that your body's giving you.
So it's not just about not getting injured. It's about like improving your Wing Chun overall.
Absolutely.
Because you're understanding your body more.
It's all connected.
It's fascinating.
Yeah. That heightened body awareness translates into greater control, more fluidity in your movements. Ultimately, I think a more, fulfilling experience with the art.
Yeah.
But it's not just about, we've been talking about finesse and self-awareness. There are practical steps you can take, too, to, minimize those risks.
So we're not just reacting to injuries, but preventing them, training smarter, building that mind-body connection. But what happens when, those aches and pains, they show up?
Well, then you've got to treat them.
Right.
And there's a strategy to it, just like everything else with Wing Chun. It depends on the severity. I mean, we're talking about, your bumps, your bruises, a little muscle soreness after a hard class.
Right.
Rice is your friend.
Rice? Like, should I be stocking up on rice?
Not quite.
Okay.
Although, a good diet never hurts.
It's true.
But rice, we're talking about rest, ice, compression, elevation.
Oh, right. Of course. The classic first aid. But what about if it's more than that? Like, I've really, I don't know, jammed a finger and landed wrong, and now we're talking, a sprain.
Yeah, then you're looking at physiotherapy. That can be really, really helpful for Wing Chun practitioners, especially for those moderate injuries.
What does that even look like, though, physiotherapy? Because I feel like I've never actually needed it, knock on wood.
It's all about targeted exercises,
Yeah.
manual therapy techniques.
Right.
To help you restore movement, reduce pain, and really strengthen those specific areas that are so important for Wing Chun. So we're talking, if you've got a wrist sprain,
Okay.
we're going to do exercises to improve grip strength, wrist mobility, forearm flexibility.
So it's not just, getting you back to, baseline.
No.
It's like getting you back to Wing Chun.
Exactly. They
Yeah.
understand what you're doing. They understand the demands that Wing Chun puts on the body, and they can tailor that recovery.
That makes so much sense.
Now, in some cases, you might need immobilization. So you might be talking, a brace or a splint for a while just to let things heal properly.
Right, so you're not rushing back in.
Exactly. And then, of course, there are the more serious situations, we're talking fractures, that kind of thing.
Right.
That's immediate medical attention.
Right.
Don't try to tough it out.
Right. Don't mess around with that. So we talked about prevention. We talked about treatment. But I have to say, it's so fascinating to me how much of this is about, with the mind-body connection. We've been talking about Wing Chun, but it feels like a much bigger conversation.
It is a bigger conversation.
Wow.
Wing Chun, at its core, it's really about cultivating that connection. It's learning to move with both power and grace, finding that strength in stillness, being aware when you're in action.
Yeah, it's almost like a metaphor for life, finding that balance, pushing your limits, but also taking care of yourself.
It absolutely is, and that's the beauty of these deep dives,
Right.
We come in with one thing, and we leave with something completely different.
We do. So for everybody listening, here's something I want you to think about. If Wing Chun can teach us to be more present, to move with power and precision, to listen to our bodies, how does that translate to other areas of your life? How does that change the way you approach a challenge, set a goal, or even just move throughout your day? Something to think about. And until next time, keep exploring, keep learning, and keep diving deep.